Hi, I'm Corey Talbot in the High Demo Room, and I want to talk to you about wire brushes. There are tons and tons of them that are on the marketplace, and what we want to try to give you is a reason, or give you some reasons as to why. Talk about what makes a good brush versus a not so good brush, but may be okay for what your utilization is. But somebody who might be a professional working in an industrial type of a situation, they might want a totally different type of brush altogether. So we're going to start off with just kind of pointing out some of the basics about brushes. And one of the first things you notice is when you pick up a brush, you want to notice a couple of things about the bristles themselves. The bristles obviously are the biggest piece, or where you're paying for. This is what you're paying for. The shape of the handle is one thing, but really it's how many wires there are, how many holes there are in the actual block. This is called the block. The wires themselves, what the gauge of that material is, and then how many wires there are per hole. So if you look at this, this is your basic starter wood handle type of a brush. Great for somebody who's just utilizing it once, maybe to clean up a railing or something where they've got some rust on it before they go ahead and repaint. But not exactly something that's going to have a long, long life, or somebody's going to use it for hours and hours. Versus something like this. This is our Max Grip line of products, and you could actually see the difference in the amount of bristles that you have from one to the other. There's more holes per square inches in the block. There's more actual wires in each one of those holes, and the gauge of it is actually thicker than what you're going to see in something like this product. And then there's everything in between, which is something else that you'll see on the Value Series line from us. So that's the biggest piece. Then you have the handles themselves. Obviously a wood handle product. This is a shoe handle brush, very basic. It's got a little bit of a hard edge, so it isn't exactly comfortable, but if you're just doing something for a short period of time, it does the job for you, and it's got the value you're looking for. Versus something in between. This has some overmold on it. We've obviously hollowed out as much of the material as possible to make it light and to take out as much cost as you can. But at the same time, it still has its functions of being able to keep your hand from slipping off with the overmold that you have there, and it allows you to do whatever you need to in terms of how close you need to get into things by having the right designs on it. And then you've got a more industrial type, which is much thicker material, more overmold, something that's a lot more durable and sturdy. The actual placement of the bristles inside here, or the wires on the inside, is different than you're going to get on these different grades as you go up the line. So you can see the difference, and you could also obviously feel it when you pick up one versus the other. So those are the real differences with the handles. Now, when it comes to usage, the usage issues really come down to there's a different shape for everything that possibly is out there. So you've got something where you need access, where you've got to get into a small space. There is a brush that allows you to do that. You've got a nose that either tapers down, or you've got something like this. Well, that's not going to be an access type of a brush, but it might be something that you need when it comes to scraping, because it's got a built-in scraper on the end of it. You've got other ones where you have a length piece where you need to get into an area, versus something that you need which is shorter, like this, that allows you to get into close quarter areas. And then in between all of those, there's every other kind that there is available. So you've got something for access, lots of space out, larger area that you're going to be able to do. You've got something like this, which would be something like a grout brush, where you're in a very small area, and you can't have a bigger brush that's going to get in your way. And then you've got something like this, which allows you to get some real downward pressure under it when you've got something, either a stain, or you're trying to take off paint or a lacquer or anything else like that. It allows you to get a lot of downward pressure, and it's in a comfortable way. All the way to something that is a scrub brush, which everybody's familiar with. This one's got overmold on it, and it has an Acme thread that allows you to actually put a pole into it and scrub from a standing position, which is a heck of a lot more comfortable for the user. Now, as we go through each of these, I'm going to work my way up the ladder here. So your opening price point, let's call it, does come in both the carbon steel bristles or wire, and it also comes in stainless steel. It's just the number that you have in each hole, the number of holes that there are in it, and the comfort of the actual handle itself. That'll work its way up to the next line, which in our case is the Value Series. And this has, a plastic handle. It's going to be more durable. It's got overmold on it, some overmold that allows you to have some comfort with it. A little bit of a pommel to the end of it here, which allows you to not slip off if it's wet. And it is available with either scrapers or without, depending on what the job is. And there's multiple different types of materials that they're offered in. So in these cases, the materials being anything from a nylon, which would be something where you want it to not scratch the surfaces. So if you've got something where you're in a tile situation, this is the type of brush you want to utilize versus using a metal on it and you could scratch the enamel off. You've got these types, which are actually a brass product, and the brass is utilized because it's mostly for non-sparking situations where you've got the opportunity for either there's gases or any type of liquids like that that could combust. You don't want to be scraping with a regular type of a wire brush. This you won't have that issue with. And it's also soft enough that you can do certain applications like in boating. If you're scraping on the bottom of a boat or something like this won't damage the material. And this is not heavy enough gauge or actually hard enough. This will actually scrape off what you need it to, where this would not. And then you work your way up to a carbon steel, which is this. It's basically a black wire. It's carbon steel. This will rust, so it is something you need to take care of correctly. You want to get it inside the house, or if it is in a wet situation, you want to make sure it's dried off. But this is going to be a lot harder than your brass type product, but cannot be used in those sparking situations. All the way up to your best in the line, which is something that's stainless steel, and we have these in all the different versions that we have, because stainless steel, really the piece about that is that it doesn't rust. It does the same thing as your regular carbon, but it won't rust, so that's why there's an additional cost to it. Then at the very top of the line is our industrial grade group of products, and this, like I said, really has a lot more features and benefits that are built into it. There's a lot more overall mold on it. It allows you to put your fingers or areas in all the different places you might need to and still have overmold on it. It has a finger guard here in case these wires start to twist up like they always do when you utilize it, and it doesn't come in and hit your hands. It keeps your hands away from it, so it protects your knuckles because it has a pommel on the back to this side, which allows you to have a little bit of this shape to it, which allows you to go down and not have to worry about your knuckles hitting onto the ground. It has a pommel on the back that keeps you from slipping off. A lot of them have the nose where it's actually adapted to get into close quarters, where you're actually kind of able to pick into corners on it. And then there are also those that come with the blades that are attached to the end, if that's not what you're looking for, all the way up to a really industrial scrubbing type of a brush like this, where it's lots of surface area, lots of wire, that you can clean up large amounts of space versus trying to do it with a small little brush like this. This is the type of an item you use for that. And that's our entire line of wire brushes from Hyde.